So, Lonnie, I said to Leslie that this was envisioned as being seed life, as in where two or more are gathered. We're not expecting large numbers. This is a busy weekend and 4th of July, but it's qualitative. And I wanted to take just 2 or 3 minutes to let you know where we are now, since that's leading up to this evening in your offering. So where we are now is at what's called the Old Manse. Hawthorne wrote Tales from an Old Manse, Hawthorne being some consider America's Shakespeare. And the Old Manse was the home of Ralph Waldo Emerson's grandfather, William Emerson, who was the minister in Concord and the chaplain for the Minutemen. And after the shot was fired, heard round the world, Emerson didn't return home that night. He went with the troops, and he later got sick and he died in Fort Ticonderoga, New York. So in time, his son, Ralph Waldo Emerson, moved into the Old Manse. And behind the Old Manse is beautiful. Well, I'm going to point it so you can at least see the front of it. Behind the Old Manse is a beautiful lawn area. Lawn isn't the right word. A beautiful garden area with apple trees. And Hawthorne called it Eden. He called it Eden. And in the center of Eden is a rock outcropping. And if one comes in the early morning hours in these summer seasons, there are busloads of people who come here from the East, from China, Japan, India, and other countries, because they consider this the center of the ley lines of the earth. I would not put it that dramatic. I'd say one of the centers, the meridians, the energy lines of the earth. And in the center of Eden, Hawthorne called it Eden, is this rock outcropping. And if you pace it off, which I've done, it is equidistant between two sites where shots were fired, heard round the world. The first site is the foot of the Old North Bridge, where the American Revolution began, the first shots in resistance. And the other is the Old Manse itself, the home where Emerson penned Nature, which was the beginning of the Cultural Revolution. So looking out of his window over his ancestral grounds, down to the battlefield, to the Old North Bridge, Emerson then pens this essay, Nature, which launches transcendentalism. And equidistant between these two locations where shots were fired or heard around the world is this rock outcropping in the middle of Eden, considered one of the centers, or the center by some of the ley lines of the earth. I brought a Dutch friend here who has what's called the sight, who sees more than most people see. And he said, there are two ley lines and they cross. He said, the one that goes down the river is feminine to the Old North Bridge. But he said, there's another ley line that's masculine that comes from the Concord River into Eden, over the rock outcropping, through the Old Manse, and into mainstream American society of Emerson and Hawthorne and all that were connected with them. And he said that male ley line is toxic, it's poison. And I immediately knew what he meant, because upriver was a company named Nuclear Metals. And there were two companies that manufactured the depleted uranium-coated bombs that impregnated the cradle of civilization when they exploded during the Gulf War. That is, the bombs that were dropped in Iraq, the cradle of civilization, part of the Holy Land, were made with the depleted uranium in two locations in this country, and one was in Concord, upriver, at this factory named Nuclear Metals. And when he said that line was toxic, he's referring, I immediately knew what he's referring to, because I wrote a compassion play about this, the untold story of the Gulf War. Well, this is a longer subject, Lonnie and Leslie, and I suspect you can certainly relate to it and would love to hear any thoughts you have. But we're also all preparing for this evening. And the evening will begin with the Declaration of Interdependence. And General Arnold Bray, retired General Arnold Bray, Black gentleman of real force, is going to read Frederick Douglass's American 4th of July address and then offer a bit of an amendment to it. And the amendment addresses the fact that none of us are perfect, addresses the fact that at that time when the founding fathers were working, slavery was common all over the world. Regrettably, not as an excuse, but as an explanation, that was just the state of things of humanity at that time. That's the perspective he's going to bring. So this is going to be pretty historic tonight. To begin with the Declaration of Interdependence and retired General Bray, and then we'll introduce you all and so on. But since you're here and have taken the time thoughtfully enough to be with us, any comments before we conclude this session and then we all turn to tonight?
You know, I've learned over my lifetime that we are all one tribe, but we are also many. And we can choose to focus on the things that divide us, or we can choose to focus on the things that unite us. Where one tribe, a tree might be sacred in a particular location because of its rarity and because of the age and how long it takes to grow. In another region, they may feel that trees are a gift from the divine creator, to be used for their lodging at will and have no thought. You know, we all have different thoughts on how we look at the nature, and rather than try and impose our will on others, the greatest opportunity we have is for us to learn where we're common. My father, as I've said before, was a horse rancher, and he bred quarter horses and Appaloosas, and he would tell you the differences between the two and how he was trying to blend the two into his perfect version of horse that he wanted. And he could tell you all the differences in those horses on how he was trying to make them one, but I could tell you God already looks at them as one. He looks at them as one species. They're all a horse. We're all humans. We're all in his image. We're all one people, that our whole goal should be to figure out why he spent so much time and effort to create us. So many billions of years to get to this one point to drop us just as a speck of sand in the sea of humanity. What is our purpose? Certainly it is not to destroy each other. Certainly it's not to take all of this advancement in thought and turn it into dust. We must be willing to overcome our I guess our ingrained thoughts on how we were trained to think growing up. We must embrace who we were created to be, not what other people thought we should be. And that's what I hope to get out of this and share, and perhaps give people a different perspective. I plan on appealing to my divine creator to open up and to tell my life story and our family story, so that people can look at it through our eyes, not to judge us or condemn us, but to at least share our commonalities and figure that we all have these different paths. But yet if we become selfless instead of selfish, then together we can change the face of what we're looking at here, and perhaps come together in ways that just a few short years ago I would have thought impossible.
Beautiful, beautiful. And dear Leslie, anything you'd add to your husband's words? You know me by now.
If I could be a little honest,
Oh,
and you know, I could be a little blunt, but I try not to be.
You're among brothers.
We have been, you know, since we've been listening on live the last 2 days. I'm not exactly sure how me and Lonnie fit into this group. I'm a little worried that we might be taken the wrong way. But if anybody can try to understand us for who we are and what we do is for everybody. our fight for freedom is the freedom for everybody in the world. We don't want anybody to be over another person. No government over people, no slavery, so no other people over other people. We fight for everybody to have their freedoms. And so it's a little bit of nervousness on my side that I'm a little worried that we aren't exactly the same as what everybody else is talking about. But I really do hope that everybody can open up and see everybody and what everybody is trying to do. So.
Leslie, so let me assure you, sister, I know these folks. They're going to be very glad to hear from you both. I know them. I think I sense where you may have some reservations, but the hearts are in sync. The hearts are in sync, and I think they're going to be very glad with what you have to offer, particularly Leslie in its simplicity and straightforwardness, particularly there. So you're part of the family.
The picture that I sent earlier that you saw, that kind of sums up exactly what we teach in our home. Our little 5-year-old can do that. Our 5-year-old can figure that out. Hi.
Hi.
But it's just a different way of looking at the world. So I don't know.
Leslie, let's use the word complementary with an E, which means it makes whole, it makes full, it makes complete. No, I can assure you, Leslie, I really can assure you, I know these folks, they're going to be very glad to hear what you both have to bring, particularly because your intonation is unique in its straightforwardness and simplicity. It'll be very much appreciated.
All right.
So let us pause now from the old Manse. This is a conversation with the Indigenous grandmothers who'll be with us tonight, with Andrew Williams Jr. and with the Center for American Studies, a Concordian conversation. I'm going to give it back to Andrew to wrap up, and we'll convene at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I guess that's 3 p.m. your time, is it? Or 4 p.m. your time?
4.
Yeah. We're looking forward.
All
Thank
right,
you.
we'll get set up. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for speaking up. It'll probably be a modest circle, but where 2 or more are gathered. We're doing this for the universe.
Well, that's quite all right. I'm an anxiety patient. Less is better.
Here's Andrew.
All right, family. Thank you so much for joining us. Love, we're going to check out here and we'll see you in a few hours. Love you.
All right, sounds great. We'll
Bye.
talk soon.
All right, take care.
16.